What if I told you that every time you laugh at something painful, blame someone else for your mistakes, or convince yourself it wasn't a big deal? You're not just reacting, you're defending. Not defending against other people, but against yourself. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, believed that the human mind has hidden ways of protecting us from the weight of reality. These invisible shields are called defense mechanisms. And here's the twist: they operate in the unconscious. That means you don't even know you're using them. Think about the last time you felt embarrassed, rejected, or deeply anxious. Maybe someone criticized your work, and you instantly thought, well, they don't understand anyway. Or maybe you cracked a joke to hide the sting of failure. These quick, almost automatic reactions feel harmless, even natural. But Freud would argue they're signals of something much deeper. Your unconscious mind stepping in to protect your fragile sense of self. Why does this matter? Because defense mechanisms aren't just random quirks of behavior. They shape how we deal with conflict, how we handle stress, and even how we build relationships. They can comfort us in the short term, but if left unchecked, they can distort our view of reality. Imagine your mind as a stage play. At the front is the ego, the part of you trying to keep everything balanced between your raw instincts, which Freud called the ID, and your moral compass, the superego. When the tension between these three becomes unbearable, the ego has to find a way out. That's where defense mechanisms come in. Quick fixes, little tricks that let us survive emotional storms without falling apart. But here's the catch. These mechanisms are like bandages on deep wounds. They cover the pain, but they don't heal it. Freud's idea was both radical and unsettling. The very mind that helps us cope is also capable of deceiving us. We often pride ourselves on being self-aware. We think we know why we act the way we do. But what if a large part of our behavior is guided by hidden forces we barely recognize? What if every time you deny a painful truth, rationalize a mistake, or project your flaws onto others, you're actually locking away pieces of yourself in a dark basement of the mind? That's the tension at the heart of Freud's theory. We want to feel safe, in control, and worthy of love. Yet, our own unconscious may twist the truth just to keep us from breaking. And this leads us to a haunting question. If our defenses are protecting us, what happens when they begin to control us? Stay with me, because the answer might just change the way you see not only your past, but the very patterns you live by every single day. Unpacking the hidden defenses. So what exactly are these mysterious defense mechanisms? At their core, they're unconscious strategies the mind uses to protect us from anxiety, guilt, or feelings that feel too overwhelming to face head-on. Think of them as secret negotiations happening inside your psyche, deals your ego makes to keep the ID and superego from tearing you apart. But these defenses aren't abstract. They appear in our everyday lives, shaping the way we speak, react, and even how we see ourselves. Let's walk through some of the most common, and you might be surprised at how often you've used them, without even realizing. 1. Repression, the mind's lockbox. Freud believed repression is the most fundamental defense. It's when we push disturbing thoughts, painful memories, or unacceptable desires deep into the unconscious, so we don't have to feel their sting. Imagine someone who experienced humiliation in childhood but has no conscious memory of it. Yet, as an adult, they struggle with unexplained anxiety when speaking in front of others. The memory isn't gone. It's buried, shaping their behavior from the shadows. But here's the paradox. Repression protects us, but it also imprisons us. The more we push something down, the stronger it may return, through nightmares, sudden fears, or slips of the tongue. Freud once said, "The repressed never truly dies." Backhand index pointing right, and that raises a question. What forgotten parts of yourself might still be speaking through your fears today? 2. Denial, pretending it isn't real. Denial is perhaps the simplest and most blatant. It's when we refuse to accept a painful truth because acknowledging it would shatter the safety of our world. Think of someone who keeps smoking even after a serious diagnosis, saying, "It's not that bad, I feel fine." Or a partner who refuses to see the cracks in a failing relationship. Denial shields us from despair, but it also blinds us from reality. It begs the question, is ignorance really bliss? Or is it just another trap? 3. Projection, the mirror trick. Have you ever accused someone of being angry when deep down, it was you who was furious? That's projection, attributing your own unacceptable feelings to someone else. It's a bit like looking into a mirror and insisting that the reflection is the problem. Freud saw projection as a way of escaping self-confrontation. Instead of owning up to jealousy, insecurity, or rage, we see it out there in the world. But here's the danger. Projection doesn't just distort reality, it can destroy relationships. If you constantly project your inner fears onto others, you turn allies into enemies and mirrors into monsters. 4. Rationalization, the art of self-deception. We all want to see ourselves in a good light. When reality doesn't cooperate, rationalization steps in. This defense allows us to justify bad behavior with seemingly logical explanations. Fail a test? Oh, that teacher hates me anyway. Get rejected? I wasn't interested in them to begin with. Overspend on something useless? It was on sale. I saved money. Rationalization makes us feel clever, but it's a fragile shield. Deep down, we know we're tricking ourselves. And over time, this habit can make us strangers to our own truth. 5. Humor, laughing through the pain. Not all defense mechanisms are destructive. Humor is a fascinating one. Sometimes, people use laughter to cope with grief, humiliation, or trauma. Think of comedians who turn personal struggles into jokes. On the surface, it looks like lightheartedness, but under it lies a quiet act of survival. By laughing, the pain becomes smaller, more manageable. Freud saw humor as one of the more mature defenses, allowing us to face darkness without being swallowed by it. But even here, there's a risk. If humor always hides pain, when do we actually confront it? Rising tension, the cost of defense. Now, here's where things get complicated. Defense mechanisms keep us safe, but at a price. Each one twists reality in some way, bending the truth to spare our feelings. Repression hides what we should heal. Denial blinds us from what we must face. Projection poisons our connections. Rationalization erodes our honesty. Even humor, when overused, masks wounds that never close. So we're left with a haunting paradox. The very strategies that protect us may also be the chains that hold us back. Everyday examples, the mirror for the viewer. Picture a child who grows up with constant criticism. To survive, they repress their anger, because showing it might bring more punishment. As an adult, they avoid conflict, but their bottled-up resentment leaks out in passive aggression. Or think about someone who constantly blames others for their failures. They project their insecurities onto coworkers, friends, even family. Soon, no one wants to be around them, and the loneliness only deepens the very fear they try to escape. And maybe you've done it too. You laugh when you should cry. You deny when you should accept. You rationalize when the truth is too sharp to bear. These aren't signs of weakness, they're signs of being human. But they remind us that our unconscious is far more active than we dare to admit. Cliffhanger, a deeper darkness. Freud's student-turned-rival, Carl Jung, once warned that what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. If that's true, then our defenses might not just be shields. They might be fuel, feeding the very monsters we're trying to escape. Think about it. Every hidden memory, every repressed desire, every denial we've clung to, what if they're still alive inside us, shaping our destiny from the shadows? And here's the chilling part. Freud believed that when defenses crack, the unconscious surges forward, with dreams, symptoms, or breakdowns. So the question becomes, are our defenses saving us from the storm, or are they the storm itself? Resolution, facing the shadow. So where does this leave us? Are defense mechanisms enemies to be destroyed, or guardians we should thank? The truth is, they are both. They are survival tools, brilliant in their design, but limited in their scope. They protect us in the moment, but they cannot free us from the weight of what we hide. Freud's insight was unsettling because it held up a mirror. Our unconscious is not just a dark vault of secrets, it is an active participant in our daily lives. The ego doesn't simply balance. It bargains, it bends, it deceives, all in the name of protection. And while these bargains keep us standing, they often keep us standing in the same place, unable to move forward. But here's the twist. Defense mechanisms are not flaws, they are clues. Each time you catch yourself rationalizing, projecting, or laughing away pain, you're glimpsing the shape of what you're defending against. These defenses point, indirectly but unmistakably, to the wounds that most need healing. the deeper meaning. This is where Freud and later thinkers like Jung converge. The path to growth is not in endlessly defending, but in slowly, carefully, daringly lowering the shields. Not all at once, not recklessly, but with curiosity and honesty. When we repress, we must ask, what memory is asking to be remembered? When we deny, we must ask, what truth is knocking on the door? When we project, we must ask, what within me am I unwilling to see? To live unconsciously is to live at the mercy of these hidden patterns. To live consciously is to recognize them, not to erase them, but to learn from them. Maybe right now, you're thinking of your own defenses, the excuses you've made, the truths you've avoided, the laughter that covered your tears. If so, you're not alone. Every human being defends. It's not weakness, it's the language of survival. But survival is not the same as living. To live is to look inward. To live is to risk seeing what hurts in order to finally set it free. So I leave you with this question. What defense have you been using the most? And what might it be trying to protect? Because in that answer lies not only your hidden pain, but also your hidden strength. If this story has made you pause and wonder, then you've already taken the first step toward looking within. And perhaps, as Jung once said, who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens. So, what part of you is waiting to be awakened? If you'd like to keep exploring the unseen worlds of psychology, philosophy, and the mysteries of the human mind, consider subscribing. There are more stories waiting in the shadows, and together, we can bring them to light.